It's a pleasure to be with everyone here in the Imperial Ballroom, feeling very royal. And I'm going to invite our panelists up on stage. We have James Yang from Tencent Games, right? He looks after a lot of PUBG mobile games globally, a lot of activations and events, really kind of like at the cutting edge of what we've been seeing for global esports. We have Tang, co-founder and CFO, and a whole bunch of other titles that I cannot remember for VSPO, right? Very much behind a lot of the major esports events, not just in China, from what I see, in Asia and in the region, and just kind of like amazing. And we're going to hear a lot more about that. And last but not least, we have Akshat Rathee, right? Give it up for Akshat, our co-founder and managing director of NODWIN Games, and most recently, I've heard the owner of branded this event, right? Thank you. Congrats on a good investment. Please take a seat. I'm holding on to someone's mic. I think it's yours. Okay, so this is actually one of the most exciting panels, in my opinion. Right? Can't wait to have this conversation with our panelists, who I think there was a shout at the back called OG. I think I can safely say this panel, like everyone here, has been have front row seats to the development of esports and gaming in the region and globally in some of the biggest markets. But before we dive into all that, events, activities, commercials, and all that, we gotta know a little bit more about you. And I'll start with James, right? Say James, right? And then everyone kind of like, you've been PUBG Mobile, right, and a bunch of other games and all that. I guess we can assume that you play PUBG Mobile as the game right now, but this is family, so you can be honest and tell us if you are playing something else right now. But you got to tell us what you play and what keeps you up at night.
That's a great question. And firstly, I'm very happy to talk again with Danny, Akshat. It's not the first time, and I already enjoyed with them as a panel. So yeah, I'm playing PUBG Mobile even as a player. Actually, I really enjoying my game. It's not just because of my game, but it's really fun. Please play. But besides that, if you ask me what is my favorite game, since I played the games that's age 8, and my favorite game is Ultima 5. That was released 1988, 1989 on Apple II.
That was before Danny was born, and the game that Akshat played when he was 20. No.
Yeah. Okay, I still remember that maybe more than 7, 8 discs, so I need to change the disc to play again and again. But the RPG world in the monochrome and the NPC living their life, it was just so crazy. So I just cannot help just recalling that memory again and again. Maybe there was a game brought me into the game industry. So yeah, that's my favorite game, Ultima 5.
Wow. And maybe we'll come back to what keeps you up at night. You have a bit more time. But besides PUBG Mobile and right, how about you, Danny? Right, you've been in the forefront of all the major events. I think lost count of how many world championships your organization has produced and all of that. So you've seen it all, right? And not just within China, which is where we've seen some of the fastest growth, but in the region. Surely you can tell us what's your favorite game or what you're playing at the moment.
Okay, well, this is a great panel, great forum, so I'm going to let you guys in a little secret. It's actually no secret within my company, but this is probably the first time I'm saying it out loud. I am horrible at competitive games. So as much as I would like to play all the game titles that we host, Honor of Kings, League of Legends, PUBG Mobile, James, trust me, I've really tried. I'm just horrible at it. To a point that I don't get any kind of positive reinforcement. So I actually cannot play competitive games as much as I love watching them.
It's okay. We need an adult in the room once in a while. Yes. Okay.
I think my kids could do better. I have a 10-year-old and 6-year-old. They are doing better at gaming than I do. But my favorite game that comes to mind is Monumental Valley. So I spend a lot of time on puzzle-solving games, and they help me sleep at night to a second part of the question. So they help me de-stress, and they're really good. And they are the strings that kind of make me still feel attached and connected to the gaming community, even though I'm horrible at competitive games. And by the way, that's why I have a lot of respect for all the athletes out there, for all the esports athletes. It's not just the amount of time you're putting, I tell you, it really takes talent, it takes skill that I definitely do not have. So a lot of respect to them.
Well, speaking about those players and athletes and keeping it up, and there was a period of time in my life I tried to be competitive, and after you train, you can't. When you go to bed, the game is still in your head, and it's still going on, and all that, right? Keeps you up at night, right? And Akshat knows all about it. Akshat.
So, look, I was a gamer since I was 4 years old. I've always loved games. I have this love affair with every game that I like to go out and play. And over time, you figure out your genre. I like games that allow me to build. City Skyline is one of the ones that I'll go out and.
I think I think Paradox is here in this room. I think somewhere.
So, you find games that you gravitate towards that make you happy, right? And while that is what I call my casual, social, relaxing part of gaming, I loved the entire Command and Conquer series and Final Fantasy series because I play Final Fantasy VII, the remake on PlayStation, and my daughter, who's 8 and 9, just sits down and watches. Right? She loves the story. She doesn't want to play. She's like, no, but what's that? And why can't we do this? And this becomes the storytelling joint experience that you can go ahead and have. But StarCraft was one of my favorite ones to go ahead and do. So you find these little things you want to go ahead and do, and it's just like esports too, right? Eventually, if you start playing football, you want to be like Ronaldo, but it's okay just playing the local Sunday league, and that's fine. That makes you feel happy.
Okay, it sounds like you play way too much game to be doing any serious work, right? It's good that you actually, I think, converge your interest in gaming and business. And, besides Branded, what keeps you up at night?
Brandon doesn't keep me up at night. And we have Jasper. He's fairly rock star. I think you mentioned it in the panel with GEF down in the bigger ballroom. We are at an inflection point in gaming and esports across the world. I think esports in the Western world, unfortunately, is not liked by a lot of investors anymore. And it's no one's fault. It's just a matter of causality that has actually happened. While Asia is actually doing better. Asia's redefining what the definition of a successful esports company is supposed to be. VSPO is one of the shining examples of that. We are trying to go ahead and do this in the emerging markets. We like emerging markets. And trying to go ahead and build a narrative that doesn't make esports a Ponzi scheme to my 15-year future daughter when she becomes of it. And she says, Dad, what did you do? And wasn't esports like, no disrespect to NFT and crypto and everyone, but people have reputations, words start carrying reputations over time. And I don't want esports to be that. I think esports is profitable. Esports is very value additive to the world. It has a very strong reason of existence besides the publishers. And trying to go ahead and build a model for that is.
I would maybe add a comment to that. I think gamers are usually early adopters in technology, and one of the first few to jump on Web3, crypto, blockchain, and all that. And in the early days, it was a bit of Wild Wild West, right? There were a lot of kind of like easy money, if you put it that way, and then to the terms that you use, like Ponzi or rug pulls and all of that. I think the fact that we have, I think Web3 matters this time here, right? Along with gaming, sports, and all that, talks about how the industry is maturing. There's going to be more sustainable business models going forward. I hear the topics I think being discussed in Web3 matters includes green, sustainability, and all that. Pretty amazing. I think shout out to Prakash and the team over there, right? So, but yes, absolutely. And we've got to, you've been doing amazing work in the Indian, South Asian, and now wider Asia ecosystem around gaming esports, and we're going to come back to that in a bit. Danny, do you have anything else to add about what keeps you up at night?
I'm just, I was smiling while you said that. You're extremely candid. Thank you for that. It's actually similar things that keep me up at night. It's this anxiety, right? It's like you're solving this intellectual puzzle. You see a future that is bright. You know you're right. You know you're on the trend. You see this generational shift happening. You know esports is the new form that bounds people together, and you're in the creation of that. Of course, you're excited, but at the same time, there's this agony of like, it not being where it needs to be at all, where I said it yesterday as well. As buzzy as the word sounds, we're still at the very infancy of the industry. There are a lot more that can happen, both in terms of the value creation, and also in terms of the contents that can be created, the experiences that can be created, and also the business models that can be created in this industry. There are a lot that we're borrowing from other business models, be it traditional sports or traditional entertainment. But there are also, I would expect, there should be new things that are coming out from the particular experiences of creation. The complexity and also what's interesting about our industry is that it really is something that I talked about esports being a connector. And it's a connector of different business models and different participants and partners in the ecosystem as well. Like unlike traditional sports, nobody owns football, nobody owns cricket. Like you can just go ahead and build your own league. Whereas in esports, of course, the game companies are extremely important. And the way that we see it, we've got to build models and formats in that everybody can benefit and can contribute to the ecosystem. So the game companies, the esports teams, the influencers, the tournament organizers, but all of that is like all moving pieces that definitely keep me up at night. And you're very spot on and candid in saying that it's not ideal, because it's not. There are positive trends happening. So if you think about back, even just a couple years back, we're still hearing gaming being a toxic environment for female gamers, particularly in the West. We're seeing the progression there. We're seeing that in the East, particularly where's our experiences in China, we've seen a lot of advances there. And we're very positive and hopeful for the future, but agonizing in the short term.
Well, I did miss out one title or hat that you wear just now, Head of Global Strategy Office. I can see the gears moving in your head as you were talking about all the things that keep you up at night just now. And you mentioned that nobody owns football or basketball, but James here works for an organization that owns one of the biggest esports titles in the world, PUBG Mobile. Surely nothing keeps you up at night. Nothing.
Let me clarify. PUBG is IP owned by Krafton.
Yes, but mobile.
Yeah, we are publishing the game. Yes, I know it. But what bugging me at night, what makes me keep up at night is about the uncertainty. And I think most of you are leader, and you need to pretend to have confidence on yourself, right? Even though you don't have sometimes. And then you cannot have your confidence unless 80%, more than 80%, you believe yourself, it's right. Then you have confidence. And how to reach that, you need to ask a question again and again, because any of your mistake or wrong decision will affect thousands of people, especially for us, because we are publishers. So if we change the rule, if we change something in ecosystem, that will affect a huge amount of players and pros, partners, and everybody. And next year, we are about to change and improve our overall structure and ecosystem to be a next level. PUBG Mobile started esports since 2018, and at the beginning we started from amateur, semi-pro, and then pro 2020, and then PMGC and so on are coming, and next year you will see also big change happening. And now I say we have confidence on going that way, but still it's not perfect, cannot be perfect everything. So always at night, I cannot be asking question again and again, is it right? Not only right and wrong, it's right timing. It's timing to do this, or why you need to do this now? What happened if we don't do that? But I'm quite a good sleeper.
That's good.
I sleep well.
Except playing games, it keeps you up at night. But thank you for that very honest sharing. And yes, PUBG Mobile, not PUBG, right? And I guess my next question was going to be about the future, because that's what the panel is about, right? Where do you see things going and all of that? But I want to switch gears a little bit, tapping onto what he just said, and I'm sure everybody has lots to contribute, talking about the commercial aspect of esports and what you do, right? For someone like James, he just talked about, oh, we're going to change the whole structure. I don't know who are your commercial partners and whether they'll be like shaking their knees, like, oh, uncertainty, 80% became 20%, and all of that. Can you talk a little bit about maybe one or two of the highlights in your commercial partnerships, and then maybe like how do you see things moving forward? And we're going to kind of like go across the panel on this one.
If you mean the commercial partner is our sponsor, then I'm not sure.
Many in the room, many
but
potential
let me
partners to pitch to.
just talk about the partner overall, which partner we want and which partner we want to work with. And I'd like to have a partner who can tell us what he don't know, who can tell us what he can't. Because I don't know what I don't know, the problem is. So that if our partner can see what you are doing, and if they find the problem and tell us, hey, James, you guys, it's not right, or it should be better. And then if they can provide a solution or opinion, that would be great. That would be the partner. And VSPO and NODWIN already they were our partner, and they solved our issues and problems. For example, I remember that 2020 PMGC happened in Dubai, and that was one of the most challenging events we ever had because we holding big offline event in just the middle of COVID. 2020, you remember, the world was different even from now. Before and after, all different.
That was one of the first events that restarted.
Yeah, right. So the 2020, we were so brave, and we even tried to avoid any unexpected situations, so that we built 2 venues. It's a twin venue, so that because we couldn't be sure where the player can enter, but we need to show the venue inside, so that we built 1 venue in Dubai. But we built identically same in China. So that for audiences, whatever happening, they can see something inside the venue. Sure, it costs a lot, but that was one of the most safety solution. But because on that time, this venue had some, even not our players, some staffs got COVID. So that the Coca-Cola Arena was all blocked. And then players need to play in hotel. And yes, we prepared the landline and others, but it didn't work. Because speed is good, but it was unstable. So it was not good network for players to play.
Because they were playing in the hotel rooms.
Yeah, right. So that we needed to actually postpone 1 day, and we need to find a solution, but we couldn't find by the landline, and we cannot fix it because we cannot install the landline in a day, right? So that the only solution for us was using 5G. But to players playing together for 5G, we need some dongle to provide that as a Wi-Fi network through, so that we need to find, but we don't have enough people to buy it. So that I just called to Akshat, hey, can you help me? Could you send your people to just Dubai? And whole night we explored almost all shops in Dubai to find and buy that dongles. And we did.
500 dongles.
Yeah, yes.
So if you ever find yourself stuck in Dubai in the middle of the night and you need 5G dongles, you know who to call. I hear that actually this particular event is I heard a fair bit about it, and that both Danny and Akshat, now Akshat I know has been involved in the event, right? But yeah, on that commercialization or the commercial partners, that must have been quite challenging as well, managing all the different stakeholders, right? I don't know, Danny, you have anything to add or about some of the other events where you work with commercial partners and where some highlights?
Yeah, well, we work with a lot of partners, right? Like as a tournament organizer, we consider ourselves as a sort of a go-to solution in that we try to create the experiences and contents for our fans online and offline. And then we're kind of connecting all the different parties together. There will be the game publishers and then or the developer or the esports athletes and teams or the different commercial brands. And then just to double click on what James was talking about like the partners that we're looking for and the kind of okay, again, being honest a little bit about the challenges you might consider as you become a commercial partner in esports, is that we have to be positive of the long term, but we also have to be very patient. James actually spoke about changes, right? Like what keeps him up at night are the changes and different things that we're making in the industry, that he's making decisions daily for the future of the tournament also, which is going to impact the future of the industry. And change is constant. Change is probably the only constant in a lot of industries, and most particularly in esports, because as we were just saying, this is the very beginning of a very long journey. So change is inevitable and it's welcomed, because we can only innovate and grow by breaking things and by testing things. And if you want to test things, sometimes the test results come back positive, sometimes not so positive. And I think for partners who invest in esports or who want to partner with us in esports, that's an important thing to remember. It's the patience of, yes, we're traveling, the time is in our favor, that we're heading towards the right direction, but at the same time, there needs to be a sense of patience and tolerance when it comes to all the different things we're breaking, all the different changes we're making. Maybe it'll be a change every half a year, maybe it's a change every year, but all of these things are necessary as we figure out that intellectual jigsaw puzzle of how can we best crack the growth of the industry, and which we know ultimately is going to benefit everybody that's involved.
Of course, Akshat, being OG, knows nothing about change happening in one of the biggest markets in the world. But yeah, on the commercial front of all the events,
we started NODWIN Gaming, and I often say the story is my first revenue was returnable mouse pads. That's what I got as sponsorship. And the person who was the guy is like, yeah, you're using them. Please give these mouse pads back after your tournament.
Great commercial value. They obviously had, yeah.
That's the epitome of how much you should earn. No, but over time, value is a very different thing for different people, right? For me, it might be my shareholders value what they make value from. For my commercial partners here, sponsor, it's always comes down to either a brand building exercise or a performance marketing exercise. For my partner, whose might be a team, it's ROI in terms of going and either doing a fundraising round for his team or going and getting sponsors on the back of it. And if I have a media broadcaster's ROI comes from, hey, how much advertisers am I getting? Or what's the new kind of TG I'm getting or retaining? So understanding this function of A and B and C and D and E, and making sure that you want to go ahead and make sure in a perfect world, everyone is profitable for value. Not profitable for cash, but profitable for value, right? If you can solve that problem where a player says that this is better than what I can do selling credit cards in India, and if the team can go ahead and say this is better invested than me opening a 7-Eleven, and if the tournament can go ahead and do this is better than me making a movie, and if the broadcaster can say, hey, it's better than me going and running a sport that is not cricket in the country of India, if you can solve that problem, which is called the minimum viable product for us, then you're in a situation where the ecosystem is okay. And by the way, it's not, because you can never solve for it. As of right now, we've not been able to solve for it, which is why we want to be more like Liberty Media for Formula One, where you actually have the race, the esports activity is the tentpole, but everything else around is the ecosystem that allows you impressions, engagement, activations, etc. That's the reason we've got branded. That's the reason we have a music festival that we bought. That's the reason why we have. To me, we need to go ahead and say esports is not the center of it. The fan is in the center of it, right? And if my fan loves esports, and that's great, but my fan doesn't just love esports. He's a typically 21-year-old boy, 68% of the time. And then what does he want? And if he likes food, let's figure out something to do with food. And for us, the commercialization value is a one-word statement, and I know it sounds funny. It's called timeshare of mindshare. So we are only after timeshare of mindshare of our fans, where we can go ahead and engage with them or activate with them. It doesn't matter. I'm not a destination. I'm not a Twitch. I'm not a YouTube. I'm not a website. I'm not Battlefy. I'm not none of those. All I am is a way to go ahead and get timeshare of mindshare. And if someone's watching us on YouTube and another person's playing a tournament on PUBG Mobile and another one on BGMI, then that's great. It's fine. Those are the destinations. We are not the destination. And maybe that's the way to solve it. And nobody knows the answer, right? We are all of us OGs who are sitting here, some of the people who are sitting here, no one still knows the answer. But the idea is if we don't experiment, we will not succeed.
You know, on my way walking here from the Grand Ballroom, I bumped into an old friend, and he was like, hey, you know, gaming and esports, right? Media is still growing, right? But somehow we're not seeing the spend grow because we need to get better at your point about timeshare and mindshare, right? Need to get much better at measuring and being able to kind of like put this in formats that allow for budgets to flow, right? I don't know. Is that something that's you going back to your crystal ball, which is the theme of this panel about the future, right? What do you see in your crystal ball?
So we want to talk about the future. What is something we want to improve or resolve, or how it can be sustainable for long term? There are so many things we need to do to be sustainable. Sustainability doesn't mean just to keep on doing what you're doing. Then that's actually, I think, opposite of sustainability. So that innovation, try to do something which never happened, or you never done, because this world is already different from previous. Everybody's changing. I don't know what will happen tomorrow. That means unless you innovate to make a plan B or plan C or something which is very flexible or which is very concrete, you cannot make it sustainable. So for us, because of this, that's one of the reasons why we are trying to change and improve much next year. But also, on the other hand, about the future things, there are big future, like as you mentioned, the big concept. But there's also minor things we want to improve in the short-term future. Just for example, everybody going to the NBA venue or going to the football stadium, because you can see the players there really playing there, so that there are a lot of movement. There's just a very high fidelity you cannot feel on the screen. But if you see the esports, one of the things difference from the traditional sports is there's no much movement. Players sitting and using mobile or the PC to play. So even though you go to the stadium or venue, there's not much thing you can see through player. Only thing is the big screen with the gameplay, but maybe it's not much different from you watch at home. So that how we can make the reason for audience to go to the venue to watch, because COVID is not ended, but that's with us, so that there will be more and more offline events happening this year and next year and so on. Then what will be the main reason for audience to go to the venue to watch? I think this is maybe some question not for us, but for all the esports titles and then the overall industry. So I'd like to resolve it. And we also have some kind of solution I want to try in near future.
Yeah, thank you for that. And Danny, what's in your crystal ball?
Well, we rebranded ourselves from VSPN to VSPO last year, and then actually announced earlier this year. You're gonna find that funny because VSPO stands for versus player one. Because at this stage of our development, we're coming back to the original question of what matters to us. Of course, every stakeholder in the industry is important, but the most important element are the fans, are the players. So we're coming back to what can we offer to the community, and we're coming back to what else is out there, what other contents and experiences can we offer. In addition to esports extremely competitive tournaments, we have reality shows, we have chick flicks, we have short videos, we have streaming, we have all the different companion contents attached to the major experiences as well. So I think it's part of our duty in the future to continue to invest and improve on how to provide the best experiences and contents for the players, for the fans, both online and offline. A lot of what James is saying, a lot of the innovation, a lot of trying to improve on what makes it different to be at a mobile esports tournament versus traditional sports or any form of esports. That is something that we're going to continuously focus on.
Yeah, I hear about reality shows, movies, and all that. Makes me wonder if we're really on an esports panel, but really we're talking about the future of interactive media and all that. And I'm watching the time. I think Akshat gets the last word on this panel.
Well,
you can talk about Jesper too. It's okay.
Yeah. I think one of the things that we'll go ahead and see in India in the next, India's touch with doing well. I didn't do it. It's natural causalities of certain things that come together. But one of the really cool things that will start happening in India, and I've been saying this for about 5-7 years now, and finally it's come to roost, is India's like the United States of Europe. And the way to go think about that in terms of language is we've found out in every instance that esports does phenomenally well in a local language, not a global language, because globally there is not one esports that rules the roost. So we have a state called Uttar Pradesh. We have another state called Maharashtra. These are populations of Germany and Poland and France put together. And if you're a publisher and you would launch in Germany, you should launch a separate language version for Uttar Pradesh, same populations. What will then lead to this is you will go ahead and launch, because India is a heterogeneous mixture of languages, you will have 8, 10 different APKs on an Android equivalent that is there. But as soon as that starts happening, marketing services, influencer management services, tournament services, content services will start separate engines that will be local to every state of our country, which would be equivalent to countries in Europe. And that's the growth engine. That's one of the big potential growth engines that we can go ahead and see, which is, don't think of India, think of as 22 countries in Europe that you would go ahead and think of.
So I hear about hyper-localization. I think our panel is done, at least 80% done. That part I'm certain. We're talking about innovation, sustainability, and a lot of that measurement and commercial value, right? So if you want to play PUBG Mobile, you know who to look for, right, James? Don't look for Danny, right? And then if you, for any other game that you think you're up for a good challenge, you know who to call, Akshat. And thank you so much, James, Danny, and Akshat for this amazing panel. Thank you. Thank you.